What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. Alright, so in today's video we're going to be doing the Abysscraft reveals for set 8. I'm very excited to see what new decks are going to be coming out of this set, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, and we have our lovely Rose Queen who makes a return in Abysscraft this set as her alter ego, Crimson Rose Queen. So she's a 6-cost 4/4. You can evolve for 2, and when she comes into play you put a Thorn Burst token into your EX area. Alright, I have not seen Rose Queen for quite some time since Forestcraft was very prominent with her deck. Now she's being in the face of Abysscraft, so I'm excited to see what she's going to be doing in this set. And if you don't already know what a Thornburst token is, since it's been so long since a card like her has been played, you ping a follower for 3 or a leader for 3, and you also draw a card. Alright, so looking at the Rose Queen Evolve, so she turned into a 6/6, and when you play a card that originally cost 2 play points, choose one of the following. You can either 1, deal 2 damage to each enemy follower on the field and give your leader +2 defense, or 2, deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. While you can evolve her, you reveal your hand and recover X play points. X equals the number of revealed cards that originally cost 2 play points. Alright, so it's nice to see that Rose Queen is still sticking to her guts and still recovering you play points, but it seems like what her legendary revolves around is having 2-cost play point cards in your hand, and you're going to be recovering those amount of cards in your hand for those 2-cost play point cards. And then when playing those 2-cost play point cards, you're going to have other abilities proccing while playing those cards, all on top of their fanfares. Alrighty, and next up we have Nephthys. So she's a 7-cost 5/5, and when she comes into play, look at the top 7 cards from your deck. From among them, you may put up to 4 Abysscraft followers with different names that originally cost 6 or less play points onto your field. Put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then destroy each follower put onto the field with this effect. Okay, so this card is interesting, a very good boss monster card. So looking at the top 7 in Shadowverse Evolve is honestly just the best, because you usually only get to look at top 3, top 1, maybe even 4, but looking at top 7 will definitely guarantee to get you those 4 Abysscraft cards. But thinking about this deck, you're probably going to be wanting to play followers that have fanfares and last words, so you'll be proccing both these abilities for this card. Alrighty, next up we have Tardis the Tormentor, so he's a 10-cost 7/7. If you have at least 15 departed cards in your cemetery, this card costs 5 less to play. You can evolve him for 1. You can also activate for 1 play point to put this card in your hand into your EX area. Like the top 2 cards of your deck, you may reveal a departed card from among them and add it to your hand. Put the remaining cards in your cemetery. Alright, so what I'm seeing so far is a card that essentially replaces himself for 1 play point by putting himself into the EX area. You find your departed card, and then as long as you have 15 departed cards in your cemetery, you can play him for 5, so a 5-cost 7/7 that can evolve for 1. Alrighty, and then we have the Tormentor Evolve, so he turns into an 8/8, but on Evolve you select a departed follower in your cemetery and put it onto your field. Alright, so I can already see the concoctions people are going to be creating with this card. So optimally, you're probably going to want to play Ektar off of this card's ability. So playing Ektar is going to play you those 2 Abysscraft followers from your cemetery, since you know Tormentor is going to need to be a 5-cost by having those 15 departed cards. So spending the 5 and then the 1 to evolve them turns into an 8/8, you go ahead and get Ektar out, get your other 2 departed cards from your cemetery, and you're going to have a board full in no time. Alrighty, next up we have Voella, One-Winged Demon. So she's a 2-cost 2/3. You can activate her for 1 play point to reveal the top card of your deck. If it originally cost 2 play points, put it into your EX area, and for the rest of this turn, that card costs 2 less to play. This ability can only be activated once per turn. Alright, so it looks like this is going to be one of the cards that's going to be going hand in hand with Crimson Rose Queen. Just being able to use your 1 play point to reveal this card, since you know you are going to be revealing it anyways with the Crimson Rose Queen ability, go ahead and you just activate that 1 play point after recovery. And of course, if you're going to be playing the deck, you're going to be playing a deck full of 2-cost cards, so I think it's just hand in hand for abilities. Alright, next up we have Sonata of Silence, so it's a 2-cost spell. You select a Rule and Eye Omen of Silence in your cemetery and put it onto your field, and then Necrocharge 10, each opponent discards a random card. Now this is some good Rule and Eye support, just using this 2-cost card, and surely if you have Necrocharge 10, you're going to be removing a 3-cost or less follower with Rule and Eye while also discarding a random card from your opponent, and if you have the extra play points, you will be evolving Rule and Eye to go ahead and do that ability again. Alright, but moving on, we have Chris Pumpkinhead, so he's a 2-cost 2/2. You can evolve from 1, and at the start of your end phase, Necrocharge 10, select a follower on your field and give it +1/+1, ward, and engage it. Alright, looks like we have some more departed follower support, so this is an extra departed follower you can be using in your deck for the Tormentor or for Ektar, and then giving another follower +1/+1 at the end of turn is also good too. And looking at Pumpkinhead Evolves, so he turns into a 3/3, and at the start of your end phase, you still have the Necrocharge 10 to go ahead and give something ward, and then give it +1/+1 to engage it. But on Evolve, you put the top 2 cards of your deck into your cemetery. Alright, so one thing I do love about the Departed deck is that you are going to be doing a lot of tempo milling. So of course you're going to be using this 2-cost follower while also evolving to go ahead and put the top 2 cards of your deck into your cemetery. You're probably playing the Departed Grave card with the Amulet on turn 1 to go ahead and mill yourself again. So it's just going to be a lot of tempo milling with this deck, while also having abilities too. Alrighty, next up we have Salom. So she's a 3-cost 1/2. She has a Fanfare and Last Words to select an enemy following the field and deal it 2 damage and give your leader +1 defense. So it looks like this is going to be one of the cards that you're going to be using with Nephthys. So using this card to go ahead and deal 2 damage to a follower and healing yourself 1, while at the end of turn or whenever she does destroy all the followers on the field, you can go ahead and do that ability again. And alright, we have Kiss of Lust, so it's a 2-cost spell. You give your leader +2 defense, draw a card, and if Sanguine is active for you, you draw 2 cards instead. I really did enjoy what the Lust deck was trying to do, but I'm glad that it's getting some more support, because dealing yourself 2 damage and then also healing for 2 is nice as well while drawing a card. And 100%, if you're going to be playing the Lust deck, Sanguine is going to be active for you every turn. So healing 2 and then also drawing 2 is a pretty good ability that'll definitely help that deck. Alrighty, and next up we have Orion, so he's a 6-cost 3/3, he has Rush, and then Last Words, you selected a Abysscraft follower that originally cost 5 or less play points in your cemetery and put it onto your field. Alright, I enjoy this card for multiple reasons. 1, it has Rush. 2, its stats are very low, so when you do run it into a follower that late into the game, it's most likely dying. But having those Last Words to select a Abysscraft follower that costs 5 or less play points in your cemetery to put onto the field, if you're using this for Nephthys, if you don't manage to kill a follower, you will be proccing this ability anyways. Alright, next up we have Marian The Mummy. So she's a 3-cost 3/3. You can evolve for 1, but when she comes into play, you put the top 2 cards of your deck into your cemetery. Alright, so I want to pay attention to the card art for a second. That mummy has an hourglass figure, which is absolutely insane. But this is also a good card for the Departed deck to go ahead and just get that tempo of just milling yourself very quickly. I'm enjoying the fact that there's a lot of Departed cards that are milling in this set. So we're probably going to be seeing a lot of Departed this set. I'm very excited to see if people are going to be playing around with this deck, having all this new support. So if you're going to be playing the Departed deck, I might be doing an Inverse Academy episode on it. I hope to look forward to it in the future. I don't know if I already did Necrocharge or not, but with all this new support, how can I not talk about this? Alright, and then we have Marian Evolves. So she turns into a 4/4 and she has Ward, but if there's Necrocharge 7, this follower has Assail, Necrocharge 15, this follower has Storm and Bane. Alright, so this card essentially turns into Europa, just the Assail part is what's going to be the difference here. But if there's going to be a pesky follower that's giving you a whole bunch of trouble, especially if you're going to be going into the late game, having this card as a Storm and Bane, Ward is just pretty good. And then also running it into a follower that is reserved, probably giving you a whole lot of trouble. Alrighty, next up we have Zealot of Silence. So he's a 3-cost 3/1. He has Rush, and during your turn, whenever an opponent discards a card, you can use 1 play point to put this card into your cemetery onto your field. Of course, some solid silence package, so if you're going to be using Rule and Eye's effect to discard a random card out of your opponent's hand, you can go ahead and use Zealot of Silence out of your cemetery to go ahead and play this card and run it into a follower, while also potentially running it into another follower while using Rule and Eye, or whatever you want to do. Just in the early game, I think is what really lacks for silence, because you're going to want to destroy your opponent's hand as much as possible, so getting a good follower to rush into something is pretty nice off of that ability. Alright, and then we have Zealot of Lust. So she's a 2-cost 3/2. You can activate by giving your leader -1 defense. You select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 1 damage, and this ability can only be used up to 2 times per turn. Now this card is going to go wonderful with the new spell card, the Kiss of Lust, and then also with Valnerique if you have her on the field too, because this card costs so less. And also on top of that, this is a 2-cost card, so this can go in the Crimson Rose Queen deck if you want to, but I digress. But getting more into the ability, using this in the Omen of Lust deck is pretty good, just to go ahead and give yourself -2 defense, and then dealing 2 damage to a follower, and then using Valnerique's Storm ability to swing for that extra 2 damage too. And then if you have the extra play points, using Kiss of Lust to go ahead and refund you for that health, and then draw you 2 cards. Alright, and lastly we have Manifest Malice. So it's a 2-cost spell card. You can select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 3 damage. You may banish 4 cards in your cemetery. If you do, return this card to your hand. Alright, so this is going to be one of the better cards here for Crimson Rose Queen to be recovering those play points for however many 2-cost cards in your hand. You can continuously play this card while also proccing Crimson Rose Queen is pretty good. Just go ahead and banish those cards out of your cemetery that you're not going to be using because you're not playing the Nephthys deck, you're playing Crimson Rose Queen. So getting those cards out of your cemetery you're probably not going to use is pretty nice, and then returning this card to your hand to keep doing it over and over again. You get to deal 3 damage while on top of doing Rose Queen's 2 abilities. Alright, and then we have our Nephthys UR, so it's going to be nice to see this card running around. This card looks absolutely amazing. I know in person it's going to be a lot more shinier, so if you managed to pull this, congratulations to you. If you didn't and you want to, then I hope you're able to acquire it as fast as possible so you can play it in your future Abysscraft decks. But alright soldiers, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you watching the content. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff this upcoming week. Like I said, look out for the podcast at the end of the week. I am definitely working on that with a lot of stats and everything, so it's going to be a lot of good information. I am definitely going to be workshopping the name, but I think I have a pretty good name for it right now. It's going to be a surprise, of course, when I do release it on Friday, but we can definitely workshop it. But alright soldiers, be safe in whatever you do tonight, and be safe what you do for the rest of the year. I hope you stay warm during this cold season, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah, TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do.